Hey guys, welcome to another video on Kotlin programming. In this video we are going to be focusing on classes, what they are, why do we need them, and lots of examples of different classes hopefully. So let's jump straight into it. First and foremost, I want to give a quick definition of what a class really is, because I think it's always good to understand the definitions, not too deep, but at least get somewhat of an understanding of what it is that we're learning. So a class is a user-defined blueprint almost of a real-life object. So imagine you've got the concept of a car or a house or anything really, and the car, for example, will have different functionality which you can interact with. You can start the engine, you can stop the engine, you can accelerate, decelerate. Okay, you have got different types of cars, an Audi, a BMW, a Mercedes. So in programming, you can create a class called car, for example, and that class will have functions like start engine and stop engine. Okay, and it not only has functionality, it not only has behavior like starting the engine, driving and stopping, but it also holds data. Okay, so the data would be things like how much petrol there is and how much diesel or what the battery charge is. So that's the actual variables, okay, that the class holds. So yeah, so let's write this out. So a class can hold data, which is basically variables in programming, and it can have behavior, which are functions in programming. And I've actually created two videos that explain what variables are and what functions are. But let's see how we can actually create a class that has both of these. So if I just create a class over here called car, okay, and if I basically have a small, very simple kind of concept, a variable called name, and let's just call this this car's an Audi. Okay, and then outside of this class, let's just say var car1 equals car, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say print line the actual name of the car. Let's see what happens. Cool, it gives us the word Audi, and that's exactly what we expected. We created a, let's clean this first. We created a instance of the class car. Okay, so this is what it is. This line over here creates us an instance of car, and we call that variable car1. We know it's a variable because of the keyword var. We can create another variable, so var car2 equals car again. Okay, so again we've created another instance of the car class. We've called it car2, that's the variable name, and yeah, we've got the keyword var to say to the compiler that this is a variable. So what we can do is that we can have variables inside classes as I've shown here, and then what we can do is we can actually change that data that's part of that variable. Okay, so if I were to say here car1.name equals BMW, okay, and then print out this the name, it's no longer Audi, it's now BMW. And the reason why is because it's basically saying here, when you create me, so if I'm like, pretend like I'm the car class and I'm talking, what I'm saying here is if you create an instance of me, I will give you the variable excuse me, name, and it will have the default value of Audi. But because this is a public variable, okay, you can change me to whatever you want as long as it's a string, and that exactly is what we do here. We we create the variable car and we give it a variable name, and then we say car1, which is referring to this, excuse me, and then we say car1 dot name equals BMW. So let's demonstrate what happens when we print out car2's name, right? So car2 is that variable. Let's print this, and that gives us the word Audi. The reason why they are together is because I need to put a new line. So let's go here and then just put a new line over here. Print it out again. You can see they are on different lines. So we can create classes, create instances, put them in variables, and then we can change data. We can change the variables as and when we want to. Okay, so this kind of covers the first part. Classes can hold data, right? And that's exactly what we're doing. We are holding data. In this case, it's just the name of the car. But what if you want to do some do some behavioral things, like we want to start the engine or stop the engine? So that doesn't necessarily involve accessing data per se, but we want to perform a specific behavior. How would we do that? Well, we can just say here fun, because I've said like behavior means functions and data means variables. We can say fun start engine, and all we do is we say print line engine has started. Okay, so inside, or rather over here where we change the variables, let's basically call car1 dot start engine. And also what would be good is if we just put a new line over here, so then we can then also say car2 start engine. Let's see what happens. Scroll down and you can see here it says engine has started, and then engine has started there as well. The reason why Audi and engine are on the same line is because I need to print out a new line after we print out this statement over here. Run this again, scroll down, and you can see that it's printed out BMW because we changed the value to BMW, right? We then have a new line. We then print out the variable name in the variable car2, right? And actually that's a good point. So this is a variable, and so is this. It just so happens that this is a variable inside the class car, and car1 is a variable in, well, we can access it basically over here anywhere we want. So going forward, car2, the name is printed out, and then we call start engine for both of the variables, both of the car variables. Okay, what can we do more? We can, if I just press up, bring the code back over here, I can change, after this, I can change the variable name that's inside car2 to something completely different, like Ferrari. That's what I drive. Just kidding, I don't drive a Ferrari. And then print line car2 dot name. And before we forget, oh no, actually it's fine because we are adding a new line here. So there you go. It's printed out Ferrari. Now let's create some more classes, because we're getting used to this class. Let's just create a few more. So I'm going to create like a class over here, and let's just say that's called make and model or something, or just version. Okay, let's create a class called version, and that's got two variables. It's got one variable called name equals, or rather make, let's just say it's called make, and we can give it a default value called make, and then another one called model, and that can be model. So then over here we can delete this. Okay, so completely delete the word, the variable name, and let's just go ahead and delete all of this. Let's go ahead and delete all of that. And now let's add a constructor, and this is a really good point as well when it comes to classes, where it takes in a version. So what we're saying here is for you to create an instance of car, you need to provide a version. So let's just say var version is of type version. And over here, what we can say is var car1 version, or rather version, actually let's just say Audi, Audi version equals version, okay, and then Audi version dot make, so we are accessing the make variable inside version, and then give that the value of Audi, and then the Audi version dot model, we can give it the value A3. So we've created a instance of version. We do that by having these two brackets, just like car. We give it a variable name, and then we access the make and the model that are part of that variable, and we assign it to the values Audi for make and A3 for model. What we then must do is we provide that variable, which is of type version, to the constructor of car. Oops, copy that, put it there. And then we do the exact same thing. So I'm just going to copy this code, copy, enter, enter, paste it over here, and I'm going to change this to BMW. Okay, change that to BMW. So these two are now referencing this BMW variable. And then for the make, I'm going to say BMW, and then for the model, I'm going to say 1 series or something. Yeah, 1 series. I think that's a model. And for the second variable for car, this car2 variable, I'm going to provide the actual BMW version. So let's just take a pause for a second and let's look at what we've got. Let's look at this code here first. So we've got a class called car, and for you to create an instance of that car, you need to provide to it an instance of version. Let's go to version for a second. This class is pretty much simple. It's got two variables. You don't need to immediately change the make and the model variables to something else, because it gives you a default value. Okay, it gives you completely default value, but we do go through and we actually change them. So for you to create a car, you need to pass in a instance of version, and then we can start the engine if we want to. So that's basically what's happening here. In this specific code, what we're doing is we are creating an instance of the version class, and we call it Audi version, and we add the Audi and the Audi A3 for the maker model. We do the exact same thing for the second version variable that we make, but we just call it a different variable. And notice how if I click on like this variable, it tells me where I am referencing it. Similarly, if I click on the Audi version, it tells me again where I am referencing the Audi version variable. And in the BMW version variable, we provide it the make and the model, and then what we do is we create an instance of the car class. So just like how we are creating instances of the version class, similarly we create an instance of the car class. We pass in the versions over to this class, so that variable here that we have defined, we pass that exact variable, the one that we've changed, over to the constructor. This comes inside here, and now if we were to call a function, for example, let's just say here function print version, for example, okay, and then all this does is it says print line the version model is version dot make. Let's actually make this into make, or rather let's just keep it nice and small. Version make, and then model $, open close brackets, version dot model, and then let's put a new line over here. Okie dokie. So now let's go ahead and let's say car1 dot, not var1, car1 dot print version, and let's also do car2 dot print version. Let's run this. Scroll all the way down. Oh, it's saying it's got a problem. Let's see what it is. Ah, I know exactly what it is. We forgot to put the open and close parentheses. So for a function, you need to have a parenthesis. Now let's do that again. Run this. Scroll down, and you can see here. Oh, actually, we don't need that $. Let's quickly move that. Run it again. Okay. So yeah, it's printing out the make is Audi, the model is A3, and the make is BMW, and the model is 1 Series. So yeah, again, you can see how I've created two different cars over here that take in two different versions. The first car takes in an Audi version, and the second one takes a BMW version. And then when we call print, it actually uses those variables, those versions, and whatever data is held within there, and then it just prints out onto the console. So you can pretty much do this with any classes that you can think of. You can create your own classes, have your own functionality, and it can have their own variables, and you can change them. You can extend your classes to do more stuff. Please go ahead and create a few programs. Just go wild and create as much classes as you can. Comment in the section below if you want to see some more videos on classes. Thumbs up if you think I deserved it, and hope you enjoy.